is extensor digitorum longus. Extensor digitorum longus has a long line of origin here on the fibula. This gap is for the common peroneal nerve. To see all the muscles of the anterior compartment together, we'll add tibialis anterior to the picture. Here it is. We saw tibialis anterior in the last section. It almost covers up extensor hallucis longus. We'll also add peroneus tertius, which arises in continuity with extensor digitorum longus. Here are the tendons of all these muscles passing under the extensor retinaculum: peroneus tertius, extensor digitorum longus, extensor hallucis longus, and tibialis anterior. The tendon of extensor hallucis longus inserts partly into the extensor expansion of the first MP joint and partly here into the base of the distal phalanx of the big toe. The tendons of extensor digitorum longus insert, by way of the extensor expansion of each toe, into the bases of the middle and distal phalanges. The extensor expansion of the toe is quite similar to the extensor expansion of the finger, which is described in some detail in Volume 1 of this atlas. Here's the action of extensor hallucis longus. It extends both joints of the big toe. Here's the action of extensor digitorum longus. Its action is mainly at the MP joint. The two long toe extensor muscles have another important action besides extending the toes. They're also quite powerful dorsiflexors of the ankle. Now let's add the short extensors to the picture. Here they are. They lie beneath the tendons of the long extensors. Extensor hallucis brevis goes to the big toe. The four slips of extensor digitorum brevis go to the four short toes. The short toe extensors arise here on the front of the calcaneus. The tendons of the short extensors join the corresponding long extensor tendons. The action of the short extensors is the same as that of the long extensors, except that they don't dorsiflex the ankle. Now we'll look at the muscles which flex the toes. First, we'll look at the two long flexors, flexor hallucis longus and flexor digitorum longus. They're the other two muscles that we left out of the picture in the last section. Here's flexor hallucis longus. Flexor hallucis longus arises from here on the back of the fibula. Medial to flexor hallucis longus is flexor digitorum longus. Flexor digitorum longus arises from here on the back of the tibia. This gap is for the tendon of tibialis posterior. The relative position of these two muscles, this one for the big toe, this one for the four small toes, is the reverse of what you'd expect when you look at where they're going. As we'll see, their two tendons cross over just below the ankle. To complete our picture of the deep posterior leg muscles, we'll add the third one, tibialis posterior, to the picture. We saw it in the last section. It's the most deeply placed of the three muscles. Tibialis posterior crosses beneath flexor digitorum longus and emerges in front of it, just above the ankle. At the ankle, here are flexor hallucis longus, flexor digitorum longus, and tibialis posterior, each passing beneath the flexor retinaculum in its own fibrous tunnel. Emerging below the retinaculum, the two long toe flexors cross over, flexor hallucis longus lying deeper. The tendon of flexor hallucis longus passes forwards and enters the fibrous flexor tendon sheath of the big toe. The two sesamoid bones lie on each side of it, here and here, as it passes beneath the MP joint. Flexor hallucis longus is inserted here on the base of the distal phalanx of the big toe. Flexor digitorum longus divides into four tendons, one for each of the small toes. These pass along the flexor tendon sheaths and insert here on the distal phalanges. Here's the action of flexor hallucis longus. Here's the action of flexor digitorum longus. Now we'll move on to look at the numerous small muscles on the plantar aspect of the foot. The intricacy of these muscles reminds us that our human foot has evolved from feet that had many other functions besides that of being walked on. Since some of the smaller muscles are now almost vestigial structures, we'll be looking at them quite briefly. We'll look at the small plantar muscles in 4 groups. First, the interosseous muscles, then the short muscles that occupy the middle of the foot, then the short muscles for the big toe, and lastly, the ones for the 5th toe. Here are the interosseous muscles. There are 7 of them, 2 for each